And welcome back to Inside City Hall. With the state budget more than 3 months late and the country still recovering from a recession, it may remind some New Yorkers of the fiscal crisis the state and city faced back in the 1970s. A new book takes a closer look at that crisis and the man who is credited with leading the effort to pull New York out of its economic doldrums, former Governor Hugh Carey. Joining us now to discuss their book, The Man Who Saved New York, are its authors, Seymour, Lachman and Robert Polner, as well as Lieutenant Governor Richard Ravitch, who ran the MTA for Governor Carey. And we welcome all of you here tonight. One of the things you write in the foreword of this book is that Hugh Carey was one of the state's most effective but least appreciated governors. Tell us why.
Well, we can start off why he was one of the most effective. He rose to every occasion. He grew in the job. People did not anticipate when they voted for Hugh Carey, many of the people, that he would become what my co-author Rob Polner and I believe was a great governor. Probably one of the greatest governors New York State has ever had in the 20th century. And he rose to the occasion, and he tackled problems by bringing the best people into government that he could, regardless of whether he knew them before. He brought in Dick Ravitch, never knew him before. In fact, Dick Ravitch's tennis partner at one time was his opponent in the primary.
Okay, but so then why least appreciated? Lieutenant Governor, you worked for him. Why do you think that's his?
Well, I think it was partially due to the fact that he is not a man who blows his own horn, although in the eyes of everybody who knows anything about government, he's grown taller and taller, but he hasn't blown his own horn in any way. He's essentially a very modest guy. And second of all, until these two gentlemen got the resources to do the research and write this book, there hasn't been a really meaningful history about Hugh Carey, the man, the governor, the politician, what he did in World War II, what he did as a key member of the Ways and Means Committee, as well as obviously the enormous achievements as governor.
Right.
Nobody ever wrote about it.
We actually have a photo up there from the archives of Governor Carey and you. Do you see yourself?
I do. No gray hair.
It's interesting when Carey was elected and he took office in January of 1975. One of the first messages to the state legislature was incorporated in the line, "The days of wine and roses are over." And I think there was real hard choices and pain ahead, and he sensed it. He may have not sensed it as much as it really was coming down the pike. First, you had the Urban Development Corporation of the state, which Lieutenant Governor Ravitch can tell you about, because he was brought in to keep it from sliding into oblivion under its debts. And then you had, in the spring of 1975, not long after Carey took office, the biggest banks of the country simply refusing to extend any more credit to overstretched and as they saw it, mismanaged New York City, and dispatching New York City on a slide toward default and bankruptcy. It took someone of Carey's substance, and he was also, to solve something like this and to stick to his guns, he thought that bankruptcy for the city of New York was just unthinkable, and he wasn't going to let it happen. And it's also interesting that the way he masterminded the rescue of the city is extraordinary, and that's why we wrote The Man Who Saved New York.
Was he a brilliant economist or a brilliant politician? Was he a brilliant strategist, or did he understand
I would tell you, he
was,
unfortunately the word politician is in so much of the media has a pejorative connotation. But as you know,
elected official, how's that?
In democracy, politics is the only way that things get done.
Right.
And he was a master at it. But he also had enough business sense. He understood business, economics. So he didn't rely on anyone or everyone else to tell him what was right. He listened to contrary views. He always made sure he heard contrary views. And when he had to make the tough decisions, in my view at least, he always made the right ones. But he had the respect. I mean, David Rockefeller has said to me that Hugh Carey was one of the greatest people ever in public life. He had the respect of Walter Wriston, chairman of Citibank, and he had the respect of Al Shanker, and was head of the teachers union, and Vic Gottheimer was head of the city employee union.
So are you saying was it a combination of skills?
Yes,
was it a political
combination
instinct?
Of skills. Also, no one expected. They looked upon him as a Brooklyn Powell, and he wasn't. He rose above that. In fact, he didn't have the support of the Democratic leadership of Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island or Manhattan, and he barely got enough votes at the convention to run on the primary, and he defeated someone who, at the initial polling, was running ahead of him 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. His personality was a very interesting one, and still is.
Charismatic man?
Very charismatic, very witty, as Dick knows, and as Rob knows, and he was one of the brightest men to serve as a public official. Now, you used the term elected official. It's a good term. James Madison, who succeeded Thomas Jefferson as President of the United States and was one of the fathers of the U.S. Constitution, once said, never trust any elected official.
What does that say?
And I agree with him. But some rise above that, and
Right.
Hugh Carey will. And one of the reasons why he was able to do this is he expected all people, in order to save New York State, to give up something. Not one group give up more than the other group. And after a while, the bankers believed him. And Al Shanker, who I dealt with when I was president of the Board of Ed, was a very tough cookie that the lieutenant governor brought to the forefront with his support.